Sorry, I forgot to turn my, for those of you watching on Super Talk TV, I forgot to turn the white hot spotlights down in the studio. Hello and welcome in. It is 12:05, almost 12:06. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Can't tell you how pleased and proud I am that you've decided to join us today, whatever time you're able to give us. We're certainly appreciative of that. We're till 3 o'clock today, and at that point, Brian Wilson on location in Murfreesboro at Hop Springs will join you for what is 4 hours of radio excellence and actually 5 hours leading right up to the debate that you can hear right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Look, I understand that you want to go near television, and we invite you to get near TVs at Murfreesboro, in Murfreesboro at Hop Springs, but if you're unable to get around his TV, perhaps you're at work or for whatever reason you're away from a screen, you can listen to the debate right here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is my episode 600. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'll take it. Episode 600 of these proceedings on these airwaves on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Believe it or not, I've made it to episode 600 of my time with you today. That's middays and filling in the afternoons. All times that I am on the airwaves, I count them, and we're up to 600.
Nobody cares.
Oh, I care. I care because I'm bonused on hitting these watermarks. It is also Locks for Trump Day, number 117. If you come out to Murfreesboro tonight, I'll even let you put your fingers through it if you want to. Well, I mean, actually, I take that back. I don't know some of you people. But you can stand there and look at it, gawk at it amazingly as the locks are flowing. Locks for Trump. It was March 1st of this year that I declared that I was not cutting my hair until such time as we had a new president-elect. Notice I didn't say a new president. I'm not waiting until January. A new president-elect, and I expect that will happen on or about November 5th of this year. We've lots to discuss. Obviously, tonight might have a lot to say about who's going to be the next president of the United States of America as Biden and Trump are squaring off in a historically early debate. It's happening primarily on hashtag #NeverCNN, garbage network for the garbage people don't watch. I'll watch so you don't have to. And thankfully, you don't have to watch CNN tonight because CNN opened the debate for other networks to carry it. I think Fox News is carrying it. I think another network or two might be carrying it, and we will carry it live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You're invited to participate in the proceedings. What do you expect? What don't you expect? It is debate day. I have an honest concern about tonight in Murfreesboro that I want to share with you. Not a concern about parking, not a concern about libations, not a concern about GlockStore going to be sponsoring portions of the event. We're happy to have GlockStore on board as a sponsor of the big debate night watch party on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Fatty Maddie's, no relation, going to be there serving up food. We have adult libations and libations otherwise for the kiddies and whatnot, or for those of you who are non-drinkers. I mean, it will be a big time had by all, and I hope to see every single one of you. And unlike Dan Mandis, I'll hug every single one of your necks. That said, I have a concern. And it's about being able to hear. So I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. And look, I'll deal with it. And what I probably will do, I've thought about this, is I will enjoy the thing. I will treat it like a sporting event tonight. And then when we leave Hop Springs and I get in my car and I drive back home, what I expect to do, I'll take the dogs out and then I'll go back and I'll watch the debate again. Because a debate is not like a sporting event. In as much as at a sporting event, if you're surrounded by a group of people watching a sporting event on television, if you yell and scream when something wonderful happens, well, the announcers are basically doing the same thing that you're doing, and you're not really missing any of the action. I'm concerned about missing some of the quips, is what I'm concerned about. So it's an honest concern that I have, not being able to hear or watch closely. Sporting event is easier to do, but you know what? We'll take it as it comes. It is more important, in my estimation, to be with all of you, and I hope that you feel the same way. Come on out and see us. We'll watch the debate together at 8 o'clock. Before then, the four amigos, I guess you will, if you will. Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, that's me, and Brian Wilson will be together from about 6 until 8, certainly. And we'll be there earlier than that, meeting and greeting and hobnobbing and doing all of those sorts of things. Let me introduce you to the players of the show before I forget. There's Jay Harper back in the newsroom. He's gathering headlines as we speak. We call him Jay Harp. We also call it JBC News. There's Bell K, who is affectionately known as Headless Bell, because every day I ask him to be on the television side of things, and every day he turns me down. But he does conduct his duties as executive producer of this broadcast pretty good, which is why we keep him around. And he titles our episodes, which is pretty fun. You can hear us on 99.7 FM anywhere between northern Alabama and southern Kentucky, all points in between. There we are on 99.7. You can also carry us wherever you go across these United States of America, nay, the world, by just tuning into your listening app of your choosing, whether it be Spotify or wherever it is, iHeartRadio, or our own app. We have an app that you can download and take us where you go. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, find us there, and off you go. And then, of course, for you masochists in the listening audience, it is Supertalk TV. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, available to you. It's episode number 600, and episode 600 is entitled
Matt Murphy, back from his one-day tour of Southern Australia, because the vacation never ends.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Matt, earlier when you announced that it was your 600th show, I mean...
600.
Yeah, you didn't get much of a...
I got one of these, Jay. This is what I get for my trouble. Go. No, not that one, the other one. This is what I get for my trouble. Yeah, that's what I get. Yeah. That's what 600 gets you.
No. That's what you should be getting, Matt. Come on.
That's exactly right, Jay Harper.
Yeah, see, leave it to JVC to take care of my man, Matt.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate that. Not like this cold water in there named Bell K.
Yeah, that was...
No, that's all good. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. And Jay Harper makes this show listenable in the afternoons now on Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and I certainly appreciate that. So, let me just explain to you what's happening. I am of no opinion on any of this. I owe it to the listening. I do this for you, right? I mean, I do this because they pay me, and I do this for you, and not necessarily in that order. I believe in what we do. I had a program director years ago to tell me that my problem was that I was a true believer. And I said, I think your problem is that you think that's a problem. This actually happened to me. Where on talk radio, he said, you know what your problem is that you're a true believer. And I said, I think your problem is that you think that's my problem. I think that's where we're having the disconnect. But I am
was he expecting you to just be a con artist and walk on and...
You don't pick radio over your true beliefs, is what he was saying.
I think you picked radio because of your true beliefs.
That was the disconnect. This was an old school music guy that really wasn't involved in News Talk very long. Anyway, bottom line is this. I believe in you. I believe in the listening audience. It took us 2.5 years to get to know one another, and we're still getting to know one another. And I appreciate every single one of you. It doesn't matter whether we agree or disagree. I hope that we're able to disagree on certain issues and still remain friends. That's what America's all about. America is about a community of people that can agree on a lot of things and disagree on some things and still remain friends and neighbors. That's what it's about, okay? And I understand that our disagreements have never been greater in terms of how some people want to see the future direction of this country versus how we believe this country should be run, at least the vast majority of us in the state of Tennessee and in this listening audience on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. So those things that I do for you. I don't necessarily do it for myself. That being said, I owe it to you as one big Murphy Show family to explain to you what's going on, okay? So we had scheduled, I've never asked Marsha to be on the show, Marsha Blackburn, our senator, because she's so good. Her team is, generally speaking, so wonderful at communicating with us. I don't need to. And so I appreciate the fact that there is a level of availability there, right? And so about a month and a half or so ago, the conversation turned to the possibility of her being in studio. And I said, we really need to get Marsha in studio this summer. We'd love to have her. Just let us know when the time is right. So they proposed Marsha coming in today, and I've been promoting it that she was going to come in studio today on this June 27th in the 12 o'clock hour to talk about the debates tonight, to talk about illegal immigration, and a number of other matters. And I received a call at about 10 o'clock this morning, And I returned that call about 10:20 this morning, and I was told that Marsha would not be able to be here. She is heading to Atlanta to be a part of the spin room, I suppose. There is no audience in attendance at the debate, so obviously no one will be in attendance at the audience level, but it's my understanding that Senator Marsha Blackburn will be representing Donald Trump in the spin room as she goes around to the various national media networks, whether it's CNN or Fox News or Newsmax or whatever it might be, and talking about some of the issues brought up in the debate and giving her thoughts about said issues. Marsha's folks and Marsha her side, I spoke with Senator Blackburn earlier today. She called me. She was gracious enough to call me to apologize for canceling on us. And she apologizes to all of you, and we'll get it rescheduled as soon as possible. That said, she asked apparently it was something to do with they could not get a flight into Hartsfield International Airport because the Secret Service had blocked off airspace. Apparently, they restrict airspace at a certain time for the president to be able to come in to a given community. I mean, you know how that goes, I guess. And apparently that restriction is happening an hour or an hour and a half earlier than anticipated. So she has to leave Tennessee earlier than anticipated to get into town, into Atlanta, to join CNN and the other networks in the spin room. So that's all well and good. I'm not going to... I'm not going to cut off my nose to spite my face here. I'm disappointed that we weren't able to speak to Marsha Blackburn, but oh well. We'll make it happen the next time around. I'm disappointed that you guys will not have an opportunity to hear from her. They asked me, I will say that they asked if we had any availability to do a phoner later on in the show, and I declined. I told them that we had other things going on.
Are we still having AG Skrmetti on?
Yes, at 1 o'clock. Yes, the Attorney General, and as part of my dynamic is that the Attorney General, Jonathan Skrmetti, will be on with us to talk about the case recently taken up by the United States Supreme Court, amongst other things. And we had to move Jonathan around a couple of times to make way for Marsha. So there's plenty of time between now and whenever to have her back. And I look forward to the opportunity to sitting down with Senator Blackburn. But I just wanted to let you know, as a big Matt Muprhy family, what's going on. We had her scheduled, and there it is. So I apologize to those of you who are anticipating the interview. Those of you perhaps following on social media as I was promoting it, it is what it is. 9932 says, no live audience at the debate. Is that normal? No, it is not normal, 9932. It was at the insistence of Joe Biden and his team that there be no live audience in the studio at the debate. There will be Donald Trump, there will be Joe Biden, there will be Dana Bash, and there will be Jake Tapper and the camera people, and that's it. I mean, I imagine there will be a handler or two running about. 6682 says, what in the hell is the spin room? Man, oh man, don't worry, 6682. I'll feed you baby birds. I'll help you. So a spin room is where minions of the individual camps go to speak to the various news organizations and agencies and give their take on what just happened. So we'll watch the 90-minute debate. Starts at 8, ends around 9:30. Starting at about 9:30 until the cows come home. I don't imagine they'll close down the spin room till what, Bell? Midnight? Our time?
Well, depending on what happens in the debate, it could be later, but I would say it will be open at least that.
Yeah. 2.5 hours where Fox News and CNN and MSNBC and ABC, CBS, NBC and all of the media networks have their little camera setups and have their stand-ups or their sit-downs, and they invite anyone and everyone to stop by to give their 3-minute analysis on what we just saw. 3143 says, who's to say what we hear on TV is even what is being said in person? I would think, to answer your question literally, who is to say that what we hear on television is being said in person? Donald Trump is the one that would be to say. So if Donald Trump discovers that there's any shenanigans with the recording or the audio of the event, I would imagine that at some point he would tell us what's going on. 7662 says, I'm hoping for a fist fight. You know what? I would love it if, did you see where CNN explained the microphones to their audience?
Oh, about them being cut off?
Yeah, how they're cutting them off. And they had 2 people standing at the podiums. And if someone speaks, you'll hear this. And they were literally explaining to us how cutting off a microphone works. And if your microphone's on, you'll see 2 green buttons. And if it is off, you will not see the 2 green buttons. And if it is off, you will not be heard on audio, and this is what you'll sound like, et cetera, et cetera. We've sent these instructions to the 2 camps, and we wanted you, the viewing audience, to know exactly what is going on. What I would love to see is that as Joe Biden is lying about something or another, would you not love it if Donald Trump just got out from behind the podium and walked over to his mic?
And then the 2 Secret Service camps start. They're going at each other.
Just stroll over and say, "Hey, Joe, I'm gonna let you finish." But everybody knows that Donald Trump had the greatest rap album of all time. You pull the old Kanye, right? Just take the microphone away from old man. See what happens. Do you really think that? You really think the Secret Service would get him? I think they probably would.
Yeah, but then the Secret Service that protects Trump would be like, oh, they're going after our guy. And then it's just this big brawl on TV.
SS on SS battle.
Yeah.
Battle Royale. Trump from the top rope. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. So we'll get your snap reaction on that. Any questions you had for Marsha Blackburn that we can't ask? I kid. Look, once again, there's no hard feelings. I know. It's annoying, but it is what it is, and I can only be honest with you with regard to how I feel on it. But once again, I'm not going to cut off my nose despite my face. I think she does a good job in the Washington D.C. area. If I were her team handling her scheduling, maybe I would have decided a little bit differently about how to handle today. But I'm not on that team, and I'm not handling that scheduling. So I'll let them do their thing, and we'll do our thing on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, I mentioned, friends, that GlockStore is now part of the sponsorship of our big debate watch party tonight, and we are so pleased that the GlockStore joins us for these events. We absolutely love everything that they do at the GlockStore and everything they do for our community. The one and only GlockStore is there for you, especially if you own a Glock. They want to talk with you about that. I do. I have 2, as a matter of fact, and anything that I need for my Glock, you can bet it is on the shelf at the GlockStore. And if it's not there, they have it in the warehouse, and they can bring it out to you. They have all of the latest stuff at the GlockStore. If your name is GlockStore, you're going to have everything for a Glock imaginable. Plus, they customize your Glock. They provide things for your Glock that you can't get anywhere else because these are one-offs. These are one of a kind. When it comes to performance parts for your Glock, go to the source. Go to the GlockStore. And, of course, they have the Shoot 270 rooms. The indoor shooting ranges are rooms. They're not lanes. They don't believe in lanes at the GlockStore. They believe in rooms because life happens more in the open spaces and in an area that is more three-dimensional and 360 degrees. And Shoot 270, they get as close to 360 as they possibly can. Been to a lot of gun stores, folks. I've been a gun lover and a Second Amendment believer all of my life, since my childhood. My grandpa taught me to hunt and fish and all of those things. And I've never seen anything like the GlockStore, and you can see it for yourself. It's on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike and Briley Parkway, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. GlockStore and GlockStore.com.
The Supreme Court making an abortion issue decision, and a new full-service hospital is coming to a growing Middle Tennessee city. We'll have those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. We'll get to your telephone calls regarding the debate tonight. There are other matters going on as well. The Supreme Court has made a decision in an abortion case involving Idaho. We'll tell you what that decision is. Very specific set of circumstances involving this decision made by the United States Supreme Court. We'll get into that at 1 o'clock today. We welcome Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, unless he cancels on me. Let's hope not. I kid. I'm kidding. A lot of reaction to our never-to-be sit-down interview with Marsha Blackburn.
If he cancels on us, I'm going to call Glenn Funk and offer him the slot.
Yeah, I went on. I don't think it went over in Camp Marsha very well, but I feel obligated to tell you guys on social media, on the X machine, and on my Facebook pages. I announced it on those platforms that she was going to be on, and so when I found out that she could not be on because she's traveling to be in the spin room in Atlanta, I went back to social media and I made the announcement there as well that she would not be on. And in doing so, I said, hey, Gloria Johnson, we got some time on our hands if you want to stop by, which is true. Hey, Gloria's invited anytime she wants to come on. And she will not because she's afraid of that. By the way, Hop Springs tonight starts at 3. We go until 8 o'clock. The debate from 8 until 9:30. A celebration, a party, a lot of fun, a good atmosphere, a fun atmosphere. But we are having some difficulty with some of our listeners figuring out where this place is, and they're asking Belle K to give them an address. You got an address over there?
It is 6790 John Bragg Highway, and that is in Murfreesboro. 6790 John Bragg Highway.
That's BRAGG, 2 G's.
2 G's in the Bragg.
Yeah.
John Bragg Highway. If you are not social media active or if you're not internet active, that's the best that we can do for you. If you are internet active, I would just encourage you to put in Hop Springs, Murfreesboro, and you should have the address pop right up for you. Jay Harper's got the newscast. It's 12:30 during the Libertarian Lunch on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 12:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 80 degrees on Music Row. That weather forecast coming at you here shortly. The Supreme Court today issuing a decision that will allow emergency abortion access in Idaho for now, despite the state's strict ban on the procedure. The case goes back to the lower courts. ABC's Karen Travers, she has the reaction from President Biden.
President Biden says this Supreme Court decision ensures women in Idaho can access the emergency medical care they need. The president writing in a statement, quote, no woman should be denied care, made to wait until she's near death or forced to flee her home state just to receive the health care she needs. But he adds this is what's happening in states across the country since the court overturned Roe v. Wade. President Biden does not explicitly mention Donald Trump, but says, quote, the stakes could not be higher and the contrast could not be clearer, adding his administration is committed to defending reproductive freedom.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, TriStar Health has been approved to bring a full-service hospital to the growing city of Spring Hill, Tennessee. The $250 million facility is expected to bring more than 3,000 jobs to the community in Williamson and Murray counties. It's set to be built on the same site as the existing TriStar Spring Hill ER on Reserve Boulevard. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Friends, for those of you looking for a great podcast to focus on Tennessee politics, to focus on politics generally, to focus on other things involving the state of Tennessee, I would encourage you to go to Steve Abramowitz in Heartland Journal. I've been talking to Steve, since I've been in Nashville. He came around the same time that I did. He cranked up Mill Creek View, Tennessee, and that has become Heartland Journal. It's the same great news reporting, the same great commentary, the same great podcast right there at heartlandjournal.com. That's heartlandjournal.com. You can find them all over the internet, on Spotify, on Rumble, if you're looking for the video side of things. I mean, they are there and they are available, and the podcasts come out on the regular, I think 2 a week, and I'm normally there on my Murphy's Law segment toward the end of the month. Heartlandjournal.com for more info. Find out more of the podcast right there. Great selection of podcasts for you. Heartlandjournal.com, and tell Steve that I sent you over to Heartland Journal. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show. Libertarian Lunch is in progress. It is 12:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So your thoughts about the debate tonight? Questions asked, questions answered. What do you expect? What don't you expect? I don't expect that Donald Trump will try to take over Joe Biden's microphone, although it would give me great amusement if that were to be the case. We anticipated a conversation today with Senator Marsha Blackburn. That was unable. If you were tuning in for that, and I'm not kidding, I just got a text. Hey, what happened? I just explained it. Show starts at noon. Show starts at noon, Tim. Show starts at noon. Just get here when you can. She was unable to attend. She had to get over to Atlanta. Apparently, Marsha is acting as a Trump surrogate in the spin room tonight, and she had to get over to Atlanta earlier than anticipated, and so she was unable to stop by and speak to the people of the Middle Tennessee area about issues affecting you. She will be back. We will reschedule it ASAP. Dan is in Franklin next. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Great. Congratulations on number 600.
Thank you, brother.
And also looking forward in Hot Springs to Jay buying a round for everybody as we celebrate you and your great accomplishment.
Oh, yeah. The harp he's on the, you know what? I'm looking back in the in the newsroom. You talking about Jay Harper, our newsman, our illustrious newsman? Yeah. So Jay Harp is back in the newsroom, and he's not listening to the show right now. He's on the phone. I'm watching him as and I have no question, Dan, that right now Jay Harper's on the phone with Hop Springs, coordinating the massive round that he's planning on buying tonight for the entire group.
Awesome. And congratulations to you. Also wanted to do a shout out to my son Samuel, who's on the campaign trail right now for Marsha Blackburn in the area. Here are my two thoughts on the debate tonight. One of them is it's going to be a challenge for the Biden people. The reason why they didn't want an audience was because they knew that if there was an audience, especially with females, that Joe would get lost sniffing hair. So we know that was one of the main reasons they didn't want an audience. And I think yesterday you said, what are we looking forward to on the debate? I'm looking forward to the CNN host attacking Trump so that more people can see how they hate him so much, and that will bring more people to vote for Trump.
So a couple of thoughts on this, and thank you, Dan, for the call. Keep listening on the air. Here's one of the main reasons why CNN agreed with Joe Biden's demand that there be no audience, because they don't need any of this stuff. Give me a little audio there, Belle. They don't need any of this stuff.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
And so Megyn Kelly's been, no, it wasn't. That's a joke, lady. That's a joke. And she recognized it. She recognized that he joked his way out of the question. She tried to continue the question, and eventually he answered it. Only Rosie O'Donnell. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Trump has an ability to play to the audience that Joe Biden does not have, and so they cannot allow that to happen. Secondarily, as far as the moderators go, I said yesterday on Brian Wilson's show, and I was here yesterday. I was just in for Wilson from 3 until 7. He had a little procedure done on his finger. He's right as rain, and he'll be up at 3 o'clock this afternoon. But I said yesterday that if I'm Donald Trump, I believe that Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, as much as they hate Trump, will try to temper that hatred because their egos are such that they want to prove to the American people that they're above all of this, that they can be fair and impartial. I think that they will try to do that. Now, they'll fail miserably. Their version of a hard question to Joe Biden is something or another about the southern border and what he has done to protect the southern border, or it's something or another. They'll do something along the lines of, expect this, watch. Mr. President, despite the fact that you claim to be working hard regarding the southern border, your polling in regard to that question and that issue is woefully underwater. You're at 40 blah, blah, blah %. And then they'll ask him about that. And he's got some stock answer, some stock response for it. But they will try to, I think, give a semblance. We know it's not true, but they'll try to act impartial. If I'm Donald Trump, I'm going to drive a wedge between myself, Joe Biden, Dana Bash, and Jake Tapper, and I'm going to draw Jake and Dana Bash out. And it will be pretty easy to do that, and you do that by asking questions of Joe Biden that they won't. So at the end of every answer, whatever the question is, you revert back to demanding an answer from Joe Biden about this or that or the other thing, whether it's his connection with Ukraine, his family's connection with China and Russia, Hunter Biden's laptop computer and the lie that was told there. I'm on record also as saying that that's how he should start the debate, no matter what the question asked. He should say, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be in your homes, America. Thank you to Dana. Thank you to Jake. Thanks, Joe. The last time I was on a stage with Joe Biden, one of the last things I heard him tell was a lie to the American people regarding the laptop computer that was discovered that had a lot of information on it that was Hunter Biden's. He lied to the American people and said that it was not. And I think in the spirit of fair play, in the spirit of getting off on the right foot, I want to give him an opportunity to admit to that lie tonight before we move any further. And he'll say something along the lines of, give me a break. You know, I thought about this. I saw last night that there was someone online asking, well, what question would you ask Joe Biden? If you had one question to ask Joe Biden, what would it be? I thought of one. I don't know. What do you think of this? You ready for this, Bell? What do you think?
Hit me.
President Biden, name 5 members of your cabinet. I mean, I think he could get through Blinken. I think he could get maybe Austin. Yeah, that's probably what we would get to. I don't think he could get to 5. I really don't. Just name 5 members of your cabinet, Mr.
And
President.
if he did, it would take him an inordinate amount of time.
A while.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't name Alejandro Mayorkas' name. Daniel is in Woodbury. Daniel, thank you for your call. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. I was just wondering, what do you think? Do you think Joe Biden will have each and every question in advance?
No.
Before the debate?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. I mean,
Why do you think that?
I don't think they need to. I think that they'll have subject matters. I think the fear of getting caught feeding him specific questions, because you would have to do that through some form of official communication, be it email or in print, and the fear of getting caught doing that would prevent them from providing him specific, detailed questions on the part of CNN. I mean, you just asking me a question. I'm just giving you my opinion. You can have a different one, Daniel, but I think that they will give him subjects. I think they have given him subjects. Specifics, like we're going to ask you about immigrant, we're going to ask you about this, we're going to ask you about that. I mean, they have enough connections with CNN anyway that they can get fed enough information that they don't have to have a specific, detailed question. I don't think that there will be a single gotcha question asked by CNN to Joe Biden tonight. I think there will be plenty asked of Donald Trump. Daniel? Hello, Daniel. Did Daniel fall over? Okay, Daniel, thank you for the call. I'm sorry, I seem to have lost you there. I also have lost Bell K, who has escaped from the studio. So if you're calling in, just keep the ringy-dingies going, and he'll get back to you. Lawrence is in the borough next. Hey, Lawrence.
Hey, how you doing? Enjoy y'all's show.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to waste my electricity to listen to that circus tonight. But I will say this. If the Republican Party don't stay on their toes, I see where Biden has been having secret meetings with Obama. So Obama's in charge, and they'll pull a rabbit out of the hat and beat Trump if the Republican Party don't get together and unite and work for Trump. Biden will go right back in there because Obama's behind the whole scene.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, Lawrence, that Barack Obama and his team, his cabal, is running the show. Joe Biden's not running anything.
He couldn't tell you what day of the week it is.
You know, he couldn't find his butt with a compass and a flashlight. You know what I mean?
No, he don't know when he messes in his diaper on. He smells the smell. Yeah. And that vice president, she's dumb as a rock.
Box of hammers. No, you're right. I mean, and I do believe that they would, and I've said this for some time now, Lawrence, and thank you for the call. If given the ability and if they feel it necessary, the team that is actually running the show will pull the trigger on Joe Biden, so to speak, figuratively, not literally, obviously. They will find a different candidate if he cannot perform tonight. Larry says, I expect that CNN will really reveal their bias tonight. Wait a minute. What have you been watching? I watch CNN, Larry. You don't have to, because I do. I don't know how they can reveal their bias any more than they've already revealed their bias. Jake Tapper directly compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Dana Bash directly compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. That's about as high as you get. Unfortunately, the diehard Democrats will still vote for him. I agree with Daniel. They're feeding him something about their questions, which Trump will not get. No, Daniel asked a specific question. Daniel wanted to know if they have given him the specific questions. And I'm just answering the question. I don't know how.
It's not unprecedented. They did it with Hillary. She had the questions in advance of her debate.
I do not believe that I believe that because of the knowledge that happened, I don't think that they feel like they have to give him specific questions. I think they're giving him subjects. I think they're going to feed him subject matters.
Yeah.
But that's
so he at least has he knows
he has
arena
an idea.
He has
right.
to prep in.
But aren't they kind of obvious anyway? I would think. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And if you are biased like Tapper or Bash, you're not going to angle the questions in a particular way to expose the Biden administration any further than they've already been exposed. I mean, ask him to name 3 people that have been killed by illegal aliens in the last 3 months. Can you? I bet you can name at least 1 or 2. Joe Biden ought to be able to name them. Of course, he won't be able to.
One of the answers would be, that woman's name I had to say at the State of the Union because Marjorie Taylor Greene was yelling at me.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley. That's what he said. Lakin, but whatever. Lincoln, dead female, male football coach, whatever.
Just here for a better life. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're just coming across for a better life for themselves. They're making America better, right?
Hey, I need to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
At John from Lawrenceburg, I had to change, at his suggestion, I had to change the title of the show.
Okay.
It is now.
All right, well, let me do it. Let's do it the right way. You want to do it the right way?
Sure.
All right, it's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. My name is Matt Muprhy. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're presented on the FM side of things on the radio dial. You can also find us on internet streaming platforms and on Super Talk TV. Super Talk TV is up and running. Thank you to U.S. Pest and F&M Bank. Episode 600 is entitled,
Matt Murphy Says, Marsha.
Did you really change it?
Yeah, I asked John, I texted him back. I'm like, where were you 40 minutes ago?
Look, friends can stay friends even though you have days of disappointment. And I'm disappointed that we didn't have Marsha on today. And I understand. I don't not understand why she had to do what she had to do. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be disappointed by it. And I expect that you would be as well. That said, have you guys seen what I'm doing I posted something on social media, and I think they're annoyed by it. I think maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal, but I can just tell by some of the correspondence that I'm getting that they're kind of annoyed by I updated the show at 10:23 this morning. I said, update. Marsha Blackburn will not be stopping by the show today. Their office just called and canceled the in-studio visit. They have to head over to Atlanta to be in the vicinity, I guess, of the debate. The team offered a phone interview. I declined. Somebody tell Gloria Johnson I have an opening, more at noon. And I don't think they're very happy with that. But you know what? I'm not very happy that she isn't here. So I guess that makes us even. It's 12:51 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and let's talk for a moment about the foundation of your home and USS. They've been around for 30 years. As a matter of fact, just celebrated a birthday about a week ago. They are officially 30 years old now at USS, United Structural Systems, and they want to help you. Whatever your repair need might be, they're the company. They're the go-to source for all things foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling. I want to talk about that concrete leveling for just a minute because it doesn't get the attention of the other two. Because it's not a danger necessarily to your home, the structure of your home, but there is a danger involved in cracking and your concrete sinking and whatnot, you can use the USS Polylift system, which is less expensive than concrete replacement. The only thing to do is to rip it out and redo it, or to lift it thanks to this incredible new technology. You don't get any unsightly patches or blemishes. You can walk on it immediately. You can drive on it in 30 minutes. I've watched this in action. I did this in Birmingham, at my home in Birmingham, and it was fascinating to just watch it in action. It's incredible technology available for you right now at USS. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call 615-488-7855. Wish them happy birthday. They're celebrating their 30th. And then ask them about the Polylift system with USS.
An officer-involved shooting leaves a man dead in Bellevue. And tonight, of course, it's perhaps the most highly anticipated presidential debate in decades. We'll have those stories at 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I'm not here to disagree with Jay Harper, but I don't know if there's ever been one more highly anticipated. I mean, maybe the first televised deal with Nixon and Kennedy, that was a pretty big deal. But it's a big deal. One way or the other, we're not going to quibble over decades. It's a big deal tonight. Jay Harper's got the news coming up. We got your telephone calls on the way, plus Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti to talk about the Supreme Court taking up a case involving a Tennessee law, and he will be defending it. We'll discuss that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It's exactly 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Clouds and 82 degrees. A full forecast is on the way. TBI is investigating after a man was killed by Nashville police after he stabbed his own brother. It happened this morning at the Bellevue West Apartments. Metro Police Chief John Drake says officers gave warnings and the suspect kept approaching them and then got within a few feet of them.
There's a very, very imminent threat coming your way when someone attacks you with a knife. We train, and you really don't have a lot of time to react when someone is approaching you with an edged weapon.
Chief Drake says that body cam footage should be released sometime today. Well, unless you've been stranded on a desert island somewhere, you're well aware that President Biden and Donald Trump will face off tonight in a landmark debate. It will mark the first time a sitting president is debating a former one. The candidates, two of the oldest to compete for the White House. Here is ABC's Rachel Scott.
The stakes are high and the polls are close. This will be the first time in 4 years that President Biden and former President Donald Trump will be in the same room. Two different debate preparations and strategies here. We know the president has been hunkered down at Camp David holding mock debates with his senior advisors. Donald Trump is doing none of that, but he is preparing more than he is letting on, holding more than a dozen policy sessions with current, former advisors as well as Republican allies.
That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Muprhy here to tell you about a wonderful event that's coming up in about a month from now. It's the second annual Rudy Kalis Celebrity Golf Classic benefiting Men of Valor. This fundraiser for Men of Valor will help those guys continue their incredible work of reconciling men to God, their families, and society. It is truly a ministry of hope. I've come to know Men of Valor, and I love this organization and what they do for our community, for our entire state. It's taking place Monday, July 22nd. There is a 9 a.m. shotgun start. Registration and breakfast begins at at 7:30 at Hermitage Golf Course. You can find out more at www.men-of-valor.org. That's men-of-valor.org for registration and to support the event. Look, you don't have to play golf to support this wonderful organization, but the Golf Classic is going to be a fabulous time. It's hosted by longtime friend and volunteer champion Rudy Kalis, one of the premier multi-award-winning sportscasters in the nation. Rudy will be joined by his friends of Men of Valor, folks like Vince Gill, Derek Mason, George Plaster, Chris Sanders, Kevin Dyson, and many, many more. Join us for a day of great competitive fun, breakfast, lunch. I'll be there, as a matter of fact. They're allowing me to do my broadcast. Can you imagine people trying to play golf while I scream and yell across a golf course? Just come watch it for yourself at the Men of Valor event, the Rudy Kalis Celebrity Golf Classic, the 22nd of July, Monday. I invite you to be there, and I know Men of Valor does as well. Go to men-of-valor.org for more information. Here we are, and here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, hour number 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get more of your calls in here in just a moment. A lot of folks wishing to talk about the events happening tonight in Atlanta, Georgia. Big debate, Joe Biden v. Donald Trump. Earlier than we've ever had a presidential debate before, even before the conventions. I didn't know that you could even do it this way, but apparently you can, and apparently we are. A lot of anticipation. My apologies for those tuning in during the lunchtime hour expecting to hear our good Senator Marsha Blackburn. She was unable to be here, originally scheduled to be in studio, but she had to get over to the debate earlier than expected because of Secret Service and a restricted airspace and that sort of thing. She will be in the spin room. We'll reschedule and have Marsha back on. Scheduled to be on right now, as a matter of fact, is Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti. It's always good to catch up with the AG of the great state of Tennessee, and he joins us on the Matt Murphy Hotline to talk about events surrounding his office of late. Attorney General, always good to catch up with you. I hope you're well.
Doing well, Matt. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, the big elephant in the room, let's go ahead and tackle it, is the decision on the part of the United States Supreme Court to take up a case involving transgender surgery of minors. I think they had a variety of state laws to choose from. I believe that's right, and they selected the state of Tennessee. Explain to us why you think that is and what it means for your office and what you are doing in preparation of making these arguments before the court.
Sure. So this is a big deal. This is the first time that the Supreme Court's looked at the constitutional issues around gender identity. They looked at a statutory issue a couple of years ago, but everybody's been waiting to see what they're going to say about the constitutional aspects of it, and this is the first crack. So it's a big deal for our office. We are prepping already. I've got my Solicitor General, Matt Rice. He worked for Justice Thomas. He's a brilliant lawyer. He and his team are starting to gear up for this argument. We're going to go up there probably in November, maybe October, maybe December, probably November, argue the case. The briefs will be in before then. And it'll probably be June or so next year before we finally get an opinion out of the court. But this will bring so much clarity to the issue. I think they picked Tennessee in part because we have a brilliant opinion by Chief Judge Sutton from the Court of Appeals that will give them a lot to work with. I think that made the difference for us.
I'm not asking you necessarily to argue the case in front of us, but what will that look like when you go before the court? Will it be you arguing the case, or will you select someone from your office to argue the case? How functional? I'm just very curious about how this works when you go up to the big court and you make the argument on behalf of the state and on behalf of the state's people. How does that work?
So for this one, I hope to argue sometime. For this one, Matt Rice, my SG, is going to make the argument because he's going to have to spend a solid 3 or 4 months doing nothing but getting ready for this case.
Sure.
We want to make sure we bring our A-plus game to this. We're defending HB1, SB1, which our legislature put a lot of work into. It passed bipartisanly, protecting kids from these irreversible treatments. So we're going to go up there. I'll sit at the counsel's table. I'll have a couple other people from my office that have worked on it up there with me, and then Matt will do the argument. I expect the Solicitor General of the United States will be making the argument on the other side. This is a big case for the Biden administration, too. And I expect a very lively court. I think they're going to have a lot of questions about this. The arguments are going to be really about whether the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution protects people from being treated differently based on gender identity. And our position is gender identity wasn't really an issue when the 14th Amendment was passed. It's a very new consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Our law protects kids from really serious harm, and we don't think there's any good argument to say it's unconstitutional. We think we got some pretty strong arguments, but of course, a lot of federal courts have come out the other way. This is going to be the first chance to really bring clarity and to establish a more stable and permanent legal rule going forward, because we're seeing so much litigation involving gender identity stuff. I mean, it's, the lower courts are all over the place. We're getting it in a bunch of different separate areas, and we really need the court to clear it up.
Well, one more functional question about the nature of the Supreme Court and how different it is from any other venue, and then I want to ask you a couple of specifics about the Tennessee law, but it's unlike anything else that you would do, is it not, Attorney General? I mean, because the 9 justices, it's my understanding, and I think this would be of great interest to the audience, right? As you are making your argument, or as your subordinate would make their argument for the state of Tennessee, the justices can interrupt and ask questions at any point, right? I mean, it's kind of a free-for-all for those guys to be able to pepper you or the other side with questions during oral. Is that not right?
That's right. And you're right up there, just a few feet away from them. So you're getting bombarded from 9 different people. All of them are, sharp. They have a lot of questions. They have good questions. They've got agendas they're trying to advance through their questions. So you got to really be on top of things when you go up there.
And from the perspective of defending this law, I mean, obviously, I feel like you are, you're well able. Your office is well able. Is the argument essentially that the health and safety of our minors has in a long-standing way, it's been kind of sacrosanct, and we're not going to do anything to damage that health and safety? And there are plenty of laws that have been on the books. I mean, for me, and I understand that the gender issue is a little bit new. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think, despite what a parent might want, we don't allow 14-year-olds to drink because of the long-term possibility of health considerations. I mean, there are plenty of examples, right, that we could offer as to why we would not allow a minor to engage in a certain activity that we would allow someone of the age majority to do.
Yeah, I mean, you see that with tattoos. You see that with criminal justice system, right? Kids are treated differently because they're not able to appreciate the consequences of their decisions as much. And we're talking about decisions, even if it's just puberty blockers, there can be lifelong consequences there that the kids can't knowingly, intelligently consent to. So, we're going to be arguing probably a few things. I mean, we need to work really hard to craft exactly the right arguments here because it is such a significant case. But I think you can expect some conversation about how kids are different, how the government has a particular interest in protecting kids. The states have long regulated the practice of medicine, and that's what this is. And that, sex discrimination is different from gender identity discrimination. I mean, you're born a given sex. It's an enduring characteristic. The people who believe that gender identity should be a big factor acknowledge that gender identity is fluid. You can't look at a baby and know what their gender is. You can't look at someone and know what their gender identity is 5 minutes from now because it could change. So it's a very different concept than sex. And I think that's a significant factor for how the Constitution should treat it. But we'll see what the court says. We're going to be very, very prepared for this.
Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti joining us today on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In other news, you issued a press release warning American Express, MasterCard, and Visa. I guess it was earlier today that you released this presser writing that you are concerned that the companies, quote, may not be taking appropriate measures to comply with new Tennessee law set to go into effect July 1st. Explain to us what that law is and why you are concerned that some of these credit card organizations might not be in compliance with it.
So to step back a little bit, every time you use a credit card, there's a merchant category code associated with the transaction. So if you shop at a big box store, there will be a code that says big box store. If you shop at a car dealership, there's a code for car dealership. They're very broad categories. A few years ago, some legislators tried to pass a law saying that there had to be a separate category for firearms merchants. It wouldn't have applied to all of them, wouldn't apply to like your Walmarts or your Bass Pros, but just stores that are more focused on selling firearms. Of course, that's not all they sell there. The legislation failed, so they went to the International Standards Organization in Europe and said, you should adopt a standard that says that there has to be this separate code for firearm sales because we can use it to track people who buy firearms. So they were trying to circumvent our constitutional legislative process by going to a European NGO. Well, we have a law now in Tennessee. Our General Assembly passed one saying you can't use that code here because it could infringe on people's Second Amendment rights. You're singling them out purely on the basis of what the store is engaged in. It doesn't fully capture everybody who buys a firearm. It doesn't fully capture everybody who's shopping at a firearm store because you might be buying a T-shirt or a tool or something else. So it's a very crude measure that really could cause a lot of harassment and financial complications for folks who sell firearms. So we've got a statute now that says you can't use that code. Well, without getting into specifics, we have some reason to be concerned that the credit card companies may not be able to comply with our law and may be, in one way or another, continuing to use the code after the July 1st date. These are big companies. They have the resources to comply with this. It's only fair for me to warn them because if they don't comply, they're going to have to deal with the consequences. So this was just letting them know we're watching them. This is an important issue. We have a law that our elected representatives passed, and we're going to make sure they follow it.
What would be the consequences? I don't want to presume that they're not going to follow Tennessee law, but if July 1 comes and goes and they are not in compliance, will customers feel any consequence of this, or will it be strictly between yourself and the companies? In other words, will we see any impact toward this if they don't comply by July 1st?
No, it'll just impact the companies.
Sure.
They're capable of complying. I think the letter should be sufficient to get them to comply. But if it's not, they're going to deal with the consequences themselves.
You recently joined other attorneys general in, it's a bi-coalition. I think there's 44 state attorneys general endorsing the Child Exploitation and Artificial Intelligence Expert Commission Act of 2024. That's a long way to say what? Explain this to the people of Tennessee and why you're in support of this.
Yeah, so AI has all sorts of possibilities. These are going to be great tools that can do a lot of good. But there's also all sorts of ways that people can use them to exploit kids, right? You've got deep fakes. You've got all sorts of manipulative techniques to try to persuade people to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. There's all sorts of ways that AI could be misused. And kids are always one of our most vulnerable populations. And we have seen, for lack of a better term, creepy pedophiles take advantage of technology in the past to try to exploit kids. And I think it's really important that as AI develops, and we want it to develop, we need to be on top of this, because if we're not, China will be. But we need to make sure that as it develops, it's not being used to exploit kids, and there are appropriate safeguards and appropriate enforcement mechanisms to deter people from using it for that evil purpose.
And finally, before we have to let you go, Attorney General, I want to circle back to the decision on the part of the United States Supreme Court. And if you're just joining us, we're joined by Jonathan Skrmetti, Attorney General of the great state of Tennessee. And they took up the Tennessee case, or the Tennessee law, I should say, to present before the United States Supreme Court. What do you hope will be the outcome? Obviously, you believe in the Tennessee law. You believe that it ultimately will be decided to be constitutional. But do you think that this will provide clarity nationwide on what states are and are not allowed to do, or at least what we are allowed to do as our own state with regard to protecting our minors?
So there's a real question of how broad the decision will be. But at the very least, my hope is we would get a ruling that says states can protect minors from these irreversible consequences. It could be a broader case than that. It could address what the Constitution says about gender identity more broadly. We'll see where the court wants to go with it. But there are a lot of states that have laws like ours that say if you're a medical professional, you cannot subject a juvenile to these treatments that are going to have potentially lifelong consequences. We're certainly going to fight very, very hard to try to get the Supreme Court to rule that Tennessee's law is constitutional. I think we have a lot to work with. I think we have a lot of good arguments. You can never predict the outcome with the court. It's a whole different world up there. But, I want everyone in the state to know you are getting the very, very, very best that we can give. And there is a fierce group of extremely good attorneys that will be fighting hard on this case.
And real quick follow-up on that, AG. So we saw where whistleblowers within the Texas Children's Hospital indicated in that state that there was still some form of hormone therapy or puberty blockers and other types of procedures being done on minor children despite the law there in Texas. I'd perish the thought that Vanderbilt Medical Center is continuing some of the treatments on minors against the law as passed by the General Assembly and signed by the governor. What authority does your office have to check behind Vanderbilt Medical Center? In other words, who's doing the checking to make sure that they're not doing procedures that they were doing previous to this law being passed, and now that it is against the law, who checks to make sure that they're not violating the law?
So there are health department oversight provisions. Private patients have the right to sue potentially. And then law enforcement has the ability to go in and look at it. Now, Vanderbilt University Medical Center is under a lot of scrutiny. It's been publicly reported that there's a Medicaid fraud investigation going on involving the hospital, and their gender clinic has been getting a great deal of scrutiny. So it's my fervent hope that they're not doing that. If they're doing it, it will come out, and it will come out soon. There are a lot of different people looking at them, but I have no reason to think they are. I think it's a institution that is trying hard to comply with the law from every indication I have, but there are a lot of eyes on them.
Is it fair to, Jonathan, is it fair to say that your office depends on the citizens of Tennessee remaining vigilant, especially when we're talking about medical practices, HIPAA law, and that sort of thing, that you depend on eyes and ears on the ground to make sure that compliance is being done, and if anybody sees something that they should obviously report to local law enforcement or even report it to your office? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, or the Department of Health, which has oversight over some of this activity in the medical licensing. But yeah, I mean, we're not out there looking at everybody's medical visits. We can't be out there just parked in the clinics, in the hospitals, keeping track of what's going on. So we really need to rely on people who are identifying problems. And there are state institutions that do check-ins, do auditing, that sort of thing. But in a lot of these cases, it's whistleblowers and or somebody at the clinic inadvertently talking about what they're doing in a public forum that's created the cases.
AG, thank you so much for everything that you do. You're a great attorney general. You're a great representative of the state of Tennessee. I know you'll do fabulous this fall arguing in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, and we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, man. Have a great day.
You do too. There's Jonathan Skrmetti, the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee, joining us for about, 18 or so good minutes. It is 23 after the hour on Super Talk. Okay, friends, so let's imagine, if you will, that you don't feel as energetic as you used to, or maybe it's a reality for you. One way or the other, I'm here to tell you that Tennessee Men's Clinic can help. Now, I know that guys don't want to think that it will happen to them. And maybe if you're a guy listening and you're in your late 20s or in your 30s, you're thinking, well, this will never happen to me. Or I don't have to worry about my energy. I'm going to keep it up. I'm going to keep up my gains at the gym. And I certainly don't have to worry about bedroom activity, buddy. That's for the other guy. Well, half the men in America have some form of inability when it comes to bedroom activity at some point in their life. Okay, half the men that I'm talking to. That means that Tennessee Men's Clinic is for at least half of you, if not more. Their urologist at Tennessee Men's Clinic will get down to business. There's no shame in this game. Let's just make the call. If you've noticed anything going on in your life that leads to a lack of energy, motivation, or drive, it's time to make the call that so many other men have made to Tennessee Men's Clinic. 2 locations. One's in Midtown, the other in Cool Springs. Either location will do just fine for you. Get that initial consultation, that initial appointment out of the way today, and you'll be happy that you did. Give them a call at 615-208-9090 and schedule that appointment. That's 615-208-9090. Tell them Matt Muprhy sent you or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
A stabbing suspect killed by Nashville police this morning. The Supreme Court has ditched the $6 billion opioid bankruptcy plan for Purdue Pharma, and sitting in Nashville traffic may actually cost you more than you may think. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let's see, what does sitting in Nashville traffic cost me? Cost me my patience, my sanity.
Yeah, wasted gasoline.
Oh, yeah. I had a guy, you ever had a guy brake check you? I mean, real hard. I had a guy in a Miata brake check me in my GMC Sierra, my 2500.
That would have turned it into a spot on the interstate.
I know. And and I'm not kidding. He zipped in front of me and then slowed down. This was like a week ago. And, I'm going 80. I'm in the diamond lane. I'm by myself. I know. Whatever. Don't at me, bro. And he zips in front of me. Got to get in front of me. And zips in front of me in a way that he gets into a space he had no business getting into. So I'm not slowing down for you. I mean, I'll get as close as possible. So I got right up on it. Because he found his way into a space that was probably, 12 feet between me and the next car, and he went in it. And so I kind of approached him, and he slammed on his brakes, which I slammed on my brakes, and I thought I was going to hit him, but I did not. And then I told him he was number one, and he told me I was number one, and everybody's number one. And did I tell you about the gun waggle that I saw? I thought I told you about this. The gun waggle.
Somebody brandished a gun at you?
Yeah, I saw. No, not at me. At someone else.
Oh.
I watched a gun waggle. So,
what are the details?
This was a different day, obviously, different set of circumstances, but, life is fun coming from Mount Juliet to Nashville every day. And so, every day I'm reminded why Brian Wilson does his show in Watertown. Anyway, so I'm on the way in, and I watched this happen where one swoops in and then another guy. So a guy swooped into a guy like this Miata guy swooped in front of me, and then this other guy didn't like it, and so the guy that got swooped re-swooped, right? He got beside the guy and then got in front of the guy and swooped the guy to get back in front of him. So there's a lot of tension. And I'm watching, but we're all going like 20 miles an hour, so I don't know why we're swooping anyway. So I'm watching this play out like 2 lanes over from me. And the guy that did the original swoop that was now behind the other guy, he rolls down his window and he throws up the old middle finger, giving him the bird. And the guy that was swooped, that did the re-swoop, rolled down his window. And I thought, oh, here comes the middle finger. No, he just holds a gun up in the air.
That's illegal, isn't it?
Gosh, I don't know. I think if somebody had seen it.
Because you're not allowed to brandish a weapon unless you're in
but he wasn't
danger,
pointing it at anybody. He was just kind of, hey, I got a gun and you need to calm down with the middle finger kind of thing. I thought to myself at the time that if a Metro Nashville police officer or any police officer, state trooper, whatever, had seen it, they would not like it, and they would pull him over, and they would have done something or another. But is that an arrestable offense just to show everybody your gun?
I don't know. That's a good question. We should ask Brink that.
It's not a good idea, obviously. You could drop it, and now your gun's in the road.
And it's obviously an escalation.
It's clearly, but isn't giving the middle finger an escalation to begin with?
Oh, sure.
I think it is technically brandishing a weapon, which would get you at least a ticket, maybe arrested. But,
you show a weapon, and then maybe the other guy, he says, oh, you want to show me a weapon? Well, dude, I have one, too.
Here's my bazooka.
Yeah.
And
totally
then where's
escalation.
Yeah, see, you know what? Just everybody calm down. It'll be there when you get there. You don't need to do all of that. But Miata guy, he's brake checking me. I'm like, dude, I would squish you like a bug.
And it wouldn't even be close, dude. I mean, your car is basically a tank.
Yeah, that's a monster vehicle you got.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
It's a beauty.
Well, thank you there.
Yeah, I'm envious.
That.
I mean, I've got the big Dodge Ram and that I enjoy, but man, that vehicle of yours is sweet.
I appreciate you saying that, Jay Harper. I think so too. Every month when I cut the check, I don't really do a check. I do auto pay, but you know what I'm saying. When the money comes out of the account, I think, boy, that's a great vehicle. I love this truck. Remind myself of that. It's 1:32. I remind myself that Jay Harper's got news to do. And yes, we've got it. Brandishing a weapon in the fashion that this gentleman did on the roads is considered to be, we're told, aggravated assault. So got that. Don't do it. Bad idea one way or the other, regardless of what you get out of it. Emotionally, you're going to get a lot worse if a police officer or anybody sees you. Plus, you don't want to escalate the situation. Let's get to the news on Super Talk.
It is 1:32. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Pretty cloudy, 83 degrees, a complete forecast in a couple of minutes. Nashville Police Chief John Drake says officer body cam footage should be released later today of this morning's deadly shooting. A 25-year-old stabbing suspect was killed by police in a confrontation with them at the Bellevue West Apartments. On the national scene, the Supreme Court has ruled against the $6 billion bankruptcy plan for Purdue Pharma that would have assured payouts to opioid victims, but prevented those who rejected the settlement from suing the Sackler family, who got rich from OxyContin, among other drugs. And finally, a new report says that Nashville is the 12th most congested traffic city in the nation, the 39th most congested city in the whole world. The transportation analytics firm INRIX's 2023 report card, it came out this morning, and it says that Nashvillians lose 56 work hours every year at a cost of about $960 per driver because, what else? They're sitting in traffic. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, and you. Thank you for being around with us. Whatever time you're able to give, we're certainly appreciative. It is 1:39 on Super Talk, anticipating the events happening at Hop Springs. Hope you come out to see us. We'll be there. I mean, I'm sure we're there probably right now, getting ready, getting set up. Before you know it, Brian Wilson will be on air at 3 o'clock from Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. Soon after, Dan Mandis will be showing his pretty face. Chris Hand will be showing his pretty shirt. Matt Murphy will be showing up and showing out. Ken Weaver, I'm told, may or may not be there. I heard this morning that Johnny B was up in the air. Johnny B, if you're listening, please come and see me. I'll buy you whatever beverage of your choice. I'll buy you whatever you want. Buy you a T-shirt. I don't know. I haven't seen him in forever. Do you see Johnny B on the regular?
Yeah. Yeah, he's usually still here working when I get in, and we kind of chit-chat a little bit before he goes on.
Well, you normally hear, what, about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning? Is that right?
7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, does your clock-in sheet demonstrate that? Your clock-in card demonstrates that?
No, definitely not.
Did you, is the sign on the back hallway still there that says, did you sign out? Or did you clock out?
That's been there for the entire, I've been here 9 years in August, and that's been there the whole time.
So the, have you worked a job where you had an actual time clock?
Yes, I have.
Chunk, chunk. That kind of deal?
When I was a kid, when I was like 18, when I was still part-time at KDF, I worked part-time at Ticketmaster, and you had to put the little card in, and it would do that, punch the...
I've had the one where you put it in the top, chunk, chunk, and I've had the one where you put it in the side, chunk, chunk. Same kind of deal. Have you ever, in your life, Bell, asked someone to clock you out?
Yes. I don't remember the specifics, but I know that's happened because sometimes you're just in a rush to get out and you forget. So you find a payphone and you call back in. Okay, hey, I forgot can you put my card in the clock for me?
I've asked someone to clock me out because I've forgotten to clock out, and I've asked someone to clock me out because I left early and I wanted the time. And I know that that's technically stealing, but I'm just telling you what happened 34 years ago or whatever it was.
Well, your comeuppance is happening sooner or later. It may be another 34, but you're going to get yours.
On the membersnutrition.com super text line, there's 8207 that says, Matt Murphy, Nashville Road Rager. You know, I try not to get the road rage. I call it the road rage because it's what my grandpa called it. God rest his soul. My pa had his own pa-isms. He would use the word frustrated a lot, as in, I'm getting frustrated over this thing. I don't think that's what he meant, but we're going to leave it to him. That is a combination of flustered and frustrated.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. That's a very Southern saying.
I don't know that it is an official word, but it's a word that my grandpa used quite a bit. But he also said, did you hear about those folks on I-20 that got into that accident? One of them had the road rage. And I don't know why he said, he knows what the word rage means, but apparently he misheard it at some point and thought it was road rage. My grandpa couldn't hear very well. For 8 years of one of my dog's life, he thought my dog's name was Hoagie and it was Hody. But he called him Hoagie, as in the sandwich, and we just let him go.
Maybe he was combining things again, and instead of gun range, he was saying road range, where you're shooting out on the road. Maybe so.
But a lot of you have responded to the conversation about road rage that I saw on I-40 fairly recently. 8403 says, ask your listeners if you can show someone your gun, not pointing it at them, as long as you keep it inside of your vehicle. Sticking it out of the window seems like it's not legal. I don't think any of this is legal. I've had a couple of folks respond that are former or current law enforcement on the membersnutrition.com super text line, and they're telling me that you cannot show your gun at all, even if it's just to, let's say, for example, that I'm sorry, I'm going to violate the law in some of these circumstances if circumstances warrant. But if Bell K and I are walking back home in a dark alleyway from some nightclub where we've been drinking tequila, not that would happen, and we get into a situation where some people are saying threatening things or whatever, if I feel like it's going to get us out of a situation and not escalate a situation for me to lift my shirt.
Well, and you told me the story about somebody saying something about your shoes one time when you were filling up your car, and you felt threatened, so you kind of let them see that you were.
I just scratched. I remember that. I scratched my ribs. I kind of scratched my belly, and my shirt went up, and they saw what I was dealing with, and they went on. I mean, I'm going to do what I got to do if I feel threatened or if I'm trying to protect somebody else. But apparently, only if you specifically feel threatened or you are protecting others, may you brandish your weapon in this fashion. And that was not the case for this guy. It's illegal to, pulling a gun and showing off your gun just because you're mad at some other driver is an arrestable offense.
I mean, it's obviously a form. You're trying to intimidate somebody.
That's right. That's right. And I think several people are telling me, and I mean, this is on the membersnutrition.com super text line. I've not looked it up, but that is technically aggravated assault to do that. So y'all be careful out there. All right, there was a new Supreme Court decision. I want to go over it. It is a very limited circumstance that any of this would happen, but some anti-abortion advocates, some pro-life advocates are suggesting that the people of Idaho might try to use this as a loophole around Idaho's strict abortion ban in order to get abortions in that state. Let's go over it. So the Supreme Court reinstated limits on Idaho's near abortion ban today. Idaho's trigger law banned nearly all abortions, and it went into effect after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. with Dobbs v. Jackson. The Department of Justice argued that in certain circumstances, Idaho's ban conflicts with the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, or the EMTA-LA, which mandates that doctors provide emergency, quote, stabilizing care, which they claim can, under certain circumstances, include abortion. So the ruling means that there was an injunction on Idaho's law put into place by a district court. It will remain in effect. The injunction prevents Idaho from enforcing its abortion ban when the termination of a pregnancy is needed to prevent serious harm to a woman's health, according to Justice Elena Kagan, who wrote a concurring opinion. When the court agreed to take the case in January, they paused the lower court's injunction, which allowed Idaho's abortion ban to remain in effect until they issued their ruling. Today, Idaho's ban, their law bans all abortions except for those deemed necessary to save the life of the mother in the case of rape or incest. During oral arguments, Justices Samuel Alito and Neil Gorsuch questioned the DOJ about why the EMTA-LA uses the phrase unborn child and asked how, in light of this, it would make sense to enforce or to force doctors to perform these abortions. So the bottom line is this, that it was determined by the court that in the rarest of circumstances, if there is a case that comes before doctors within the medical community in Idaho where it may not be the life of the mother, but the general health and safety and well-being of the mother is in question, that those doctors would be allowed to perform abortions in order to protect the health and safety of the mother, if not the life of the mother. So it gives those doctors a little more latitude and leeway in order to do that. I don't believe that this is a case that's going to allow for loopholes within the law. I would suggest that you might have someone in Idaho going to an emergency room and making certain claims that potentially would lead to those individuals demanding an abortion. I can't imagine that would be a situation that would come up very often. But then there it is. It has traditionally been held that, and even pro-life advocates, many pro-life advocates would advance the proposition that if the life of the mother is at stake, then an abortion would be an appropriate thing. It is a very rare circumstance that would come up. This kind of expands that to include the health and safety of the mother. The New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided with Texas this year in its challenge to a same federal hospital law at issue in the Idaho case. The Biden administration appealed that ruling to the Supreme Court and asked justices to hold the petition until the court resolved the dispute in Idaho. So there is already another abortion case that is queued up based on this decision, a decision that has just been made in the case of Idaho. So I take the victories where we can get them. I want to see no abortions in the United States of America for a lack of people wanting them or desiring them or requesting them. There are plenty of other ways it occurs to me to prevent pregnancy nowadays. But despite all of that, this will be an election year issue that I expect will come up tonight. Oh, I expect that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will bring it up jiffy quick because they believe that it helps Democrats and hurts Republicans. They believe it helps Joe Biden and hurts Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a pro-life champion in the sense of how many of you are. Donald Trump is a states' rights champion when it comes to the issue of abortion. Donald Trump put the individuals on the court that saw the elimination of Roe v. Wade, which was a good decision. I've long stood with the decision that it is ultimately up to the individual states. I would encourage my individual state to take a long look at the necessity of abortion practices in that given state anymore, considering modern technology and modern techniques and the modern ability that we have to prevent pregnancy on multiple fronts. I've long stated that I'm comfortable with a heartbeat bill. I'm comfortable with that. That's where I am. I understand why some people aren't. I do not understand why anyone would be in favor of second or third trimester abortions. I don't. I just don't. I disagree with abortions within, the framework of anything really beyond 10 weeks. I have a strong disagreement with that. But I don't understand how anyone could promote an abortion at 24, 26, 28 weeks when the viability of the child inside of the mother is no longer in question. There are Democrats that would suggest to you that the mother should have the ultimate decision to the point of birth, to which I say, well, then why not give her the ultimate decision after it? If it's murder then, it's murder then. You know what I'm saying? But this question, and I understand that it's causing a lot of consternation amongst those who celebrated the Dobbs v. Jackson decision. I don't believe that it's going to make very little difference in the grand scheme of things in the state of Ohio. It is a very technical issue at stake, and it's a very limited. There will be a very limited ability for those abortion advocates to create a loophole surrounding this decision, in my opinion. 151 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and it's hot. I mean, I understand that you know that. It's the summertime, and I'm not telling you any grand news when I say that it's hot outside, and if your AC is not working properly inside, it might get a little hot in your home as well. What do you do when that happens? Do you have an answer? I mean, who do you call? Well, I would suggest that you call Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. He's cheaper than the big boys. He's going to do great service. He has been around for a long time. I've been talking about him for a while now, and I encourage you to write his telephone number down, put it on the list. If you need him, call him, and he will be there as soon as you call him. That's what Jeff Eddy does for you with Efficient Heating and Cooling. If your heater or air conditioner is not ready, you call Jeff Eddy. He's an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, so when it comes time to replace, he'll do that. But he's never going to replace a unit that you can get more life out of. I mean, these things have limited lifespans, whether it's 12 years, 15 years, whatever it might be. And Jeff understands that these are expensive products to replace. So he's going to get maximum life out of your unit. That's why he encourages maintenance all the time. And that's why I do as well. Because with maintenance, you get more life out of the unit. He's not trying to charge you $125. Never charge you over $125 for a maintenance call, by the way. He's not trying to do that just to charge you. He's trying to do that to get maximum life out of your AC. So if it's not blowing properly, If you don't know why, it's time to call the man. Call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. 615-784-4424, 784-4424. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Efficient.
The U.S. Supreme Court scrapping a $6 billion opioid bankruptcy plan for OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma. And body camera footage from this morning's officer-involved shooting in Bellevue is expected to be released today. We'll have those stories for you at the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I've decided I'm so excited about those stories. I want them right now. I want those stories as we speak. I want those stories in mere seconds. That's mostly because I was running late for the break, and that ran us up against the top of the hour. Hey, when we come back, will Joe Biden take a drug test for tonight's debate? Answer, no. Should he? Yes. More on that coming up right after Jay Harper's News. It's 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's exactly 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly cloudy sky down on Music Row, 84 degrees. A complete forecast is coming up. The Supreme Court has ruled against a multi-billion-dollar bankruptcy plan for Purdue Pharma that would have assured payouts to opioid victims while allowing the Sackler family to avoid liability. The 5-4 decision struck down a bankruptcy plan for OxyContin manufacturer Purdue Pharma that would have awarded $6 billion to state and local governments to fight opioid addiction and payouts to more than 100,000 victims of opioid overdoses. With more on this story, here's Terry Moran.
Their personal wealth, one of the wealthiest families in the world, they had contributed to the $6 billion, and the U.S. trustee says there's a lot more where that came from. This settlement should not be allowed to go forward under bankruptcy laws and excuse them from further liability, that would be wrong. And the court agreed with that the Sacklers are now once again open to more liability, more of their family wealth to be put into a settlement for the victims of the opioid epidemic. On the other hand, 97% of the plaintiffs looked at that $6 billion, and they wanted some of that now.
Now, back in Nashville, Metro Police Chief John Drake says that body camera footage of a fatal officer-involved shooting from this morning should be released sometime today. Drake says officers were dispatched to the Bellevue West apartments and faced a man who was armed with a knife who had just stabbed his own brother.
The officers waited until the individual was within just a few feet, gave warnings, please stop, police. And the individual didn't.
A 27-year-old man was stabbed by his 25-year-old brother. The 25-year-old was then shot during a confrontation with Nashville police. The 27-year-old, he was rushed to a hospital with what are believed to be non-life-threatening stab wounds. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. And before I met Paul Winkler, before I sat down with him, I listened to him on the weekends on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can hear him from 3 to 6 on the weekends every week on Super Talk. And then I sat down with him, and we talked about investment. And he taught me that one of the most important pieces of information that you can have about investment is that most people talking to you about investment are trying to sell you something. And that indicates how they're going to go in terms of their direction on their advice. What Paul Winkler does is very different. Paul Winkler offers you education. He offers you advice, sure, but he's going to educate you on where he's coming from in terms of that advice. Plus, they act as a fiduciary. They don't do anything on commission. These are important things because they're not leading you in any particular direction. They're just trying to get you to where you are comfortable and to get you to the best place possible in terms of investment and ultimately retirement. Now, I'm paid by Paul Winkler. I'm proud to be paid by Paul Winkler because I'm proud to talk with him about all of your things, all of the things that we discuss on the regular when we discuss Paul Winkler. Secondarily, I'm a client of Paul Winkler's, and I'm not paid to do that. I'm a client because I believe in his strategy. All of his advisors are chartered financial consultants or certified financial planners, every office run by one. Why not give him a call today at 615-851-1950, 615-851-1950. From a man, Paul Winkler. You can find him online at paulwinkler.com. Hello. We've got another hour to go before we crank up the big party. Hop Springs, Murfreesboro. Brian Wilson will be there doing his entire show. The gang will be there. Brian will be joined by Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News. I think Ken Weaver might pop in at some point in Murfreesboro. Chris Hand will be there. Matt Murphy will be there, and we hope to see you tonight. Hop Springs, starting at 3 and moving until 8 o'clock tonight when the debate will start. Joe Biden and Donald Trump will have their historic debate, and I call it historic because it truly is. There's never been one this early in the history of debating, at least as far as I understand it. Certainly in forms of televised debate, there's never been one before the conventions, but here we are, and we have it now. Tonight, CNN broadcasts. They're allowing other networks to broadcast as well, so I think Fox News is simulcasting it, a number of other networks, and we on Super Talk 99.7 WTN will have the debate for you as well. What are you expecting? What do you want? What do you not want? What questions do you want to see? What format would you like to see? I mean, all of these things are open for discussion in our final hour at 615-737-9986. Give us a call, 615-737-WWTN. You can also join us on the membersnutrition.com super text line. A lot of you are doing just that. Would anyone trust the drug test, asks Randy, regarding Donald Trump and Joe Biden taking said drug test. And 6254 writes it says, hey, Matt, I believe Biden will be wearing a device similar to a diabetes device. However, instead of insulin, it will have Adderall or some other form of drugs. Then someone off camera can push a remote control and give Joe Biden a boost. 4002 says, okay, I don't know what that means, but it doesn't make any sense to me, so it probably won't make any sense to you. That's what I get for reading questions or reading comments on the membersnutrition.com super text line raw without pre-reading them, because sometimes they don't make any sense. President Biden's campaign has now started dodging questions about whether or not he plans on taking performance-enhancing drugs tonight during the CNN presidential debate. Joe Biden's opponent at the debate, President Donald Trump, has famously eschewed all forms of alcohol or other drugs. I want to say that he drinks caffeine, but I'm not even sure about that. I know he drinks Diet Cokes, but I thought that he drank caffeine-free Diet Cokes. I'm not sure about that. Maybe he does take in caffeine. I'm talking about Donald Trump, obviously. But given the questions and given the controversy, I mean, There's a rising chorus of people, including lawmakers, demanding that Joe Biden take a drug test either before or after his showdown. Those advocating the screening suggest that Joe Biden may be motivated by a desire to squash the mounting concerns over his mental acuity. Here's the fact. If I was asked to take a drug test, of course I would take a drug test. What are you suggesting, that I'm on something? Come on, man, he should say. Corn Pop was a bad dude. Given the controversy, Fox News Digital reached out to the campaign, the Biden campaign, that is. They also reached out to the White House and to Donald Trump, asking if the respective candidates have any plans to use performance-enhancing drugs for the debate. No, this actually happened, Joe, whether you know it or not, and the Biden camp has now twice avoided to answer a direct question or give a direct answer to the question. According to Biden campaign spokesperson Lauren Hitt, she told Fox News Digital, Donald Trump is so scared of being held accountable for his toxic agenda of attacking reproductive freedom and cutting Social Security that he and his allies are resorting to desperate, obviously false lies. When asked in a follow-up email for a yes or no response, Hitt said her original statement answered the question. The accusation from Trump on drugs is a desperate, obviously false lie. In contrast, the Trump campaign issued a direct response when asked if Donald Trump planned on taking any performance-enhancing drugs for the debate tonight. Absolutely not, Trump campaign press spokesman Caroline Leavitt said. President Trump, I love this answer, by the way. President Trump has naturally elite stamina and doesn't need performance-enhancing drugs, unlike Joe Biden, who many are saying will be drugged up for the debate like he was at the State of the Union. President Trump has repeatedly asked Joe Biden to participate in drug testing. What does Team Biden have to hide? Trump challenged Biden to take a drug test before the Thursday night debate. So here's the question. I mean, obviously, Joe Biden's not taking any drug test because Joe Biden will probably be on some sort of, I mean, I don't know if he's drinking Mountain Dew out of a fire hose or what, but he's on something or another.
Nobody should think we're trying to imply he's taking illicit drugs, but they're getting something to him that is legal and allowable to enhance his performance because the man just does not have the energy to be up there for, an hour and a half?
Right, and frankly, the refusal to even have the discussion on the part of Team Biden says a lot, right? I understand, I suppose, why he wouldn't want to take a drug test because then we figure out exactly what is in his system and what he has been taking. But you ever been to the doctor and you feel a little under the weather and they give you a steroid shot?
Yeah.
And you just feel, the next morning, you just feel incredible.
Yeah, and it's not like they shot you up with heroin.
No, I asked my doctor one time, why can't I get one of those like every 2 weeks? And my doctor looked at me like I just ate a cockroach. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, wait a minute. So what is in that steroid shot that makes me feel so good? And they went over what is exactly in anabolic steroids or whatever it is. And I was like, why can't I get one of those like every couple of weeks? If it's okay when I feel a little under the weather to come in here and get one of those, and I feel awesome for the next 3 days, why can't I just come in here every couple of weeks and grab one of those and then off I go? And you know
because you don't want the eventual brain tumor?
No. Yeah, Dr. Vines just kept saying, well, we can't do that. Well, why not? Well, we're not going to do that. Well, why not? If Joe Biden and the Biden camp is avoiding the question, then I might suggest to you that the answer is yes. And once again, like Bell says, no one's suggesting that he's snorting cocaine behind the stage. I mean, he might be. But no one is suggesting that. We are suggesting that there's something going on that's getting him hopped up. Joe Biden has now arrived in Georgia ahead of tonight's CNN debate. Oh, look, the short stairs. I'm watching monitor number 3. And as I speak, the short stairs in the back of the plane, they're coming down. There's another example of what Joe Biden can and cannot do. He can't walk down the long stairs because he trips. Just too much for him. But the short stairs have just descended. They pulled up the limousine as close to the short stairs as they possibly can get them. I mean, after all, this guy has to keep up his energy for later on tonight. What do you think he's going to do between now and tonight besides sleep?
Talk to people about how great it is to be in Cleveland.
I love the Midwest. So great. Fabulous to be in Poughkeepsie. Former White House physician Ronnie Jackson, who's now a Republican congressman in Texas, has also called on Joe Biden to take a pre-debate drug test, citing the dozens of lawmakers and administration officials who described Biden as losing his mental edge in interviews in a recent bombshell report for the Wall Street Journal. Jeff is in Nashville. Hey, Jeff, how are you? Hey, Jeff.
You mean Chuck?
Oh, well, it says Jeff, Chuck. You can understand how.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, one comment for my question. Did you just fall into the Democrat slip of the tongue and say direct question instead of direct question? Did you say? Are you talking about another erect question?
Erection, election, direction, selection. Yeah, probably.
Sound like you fell into that. Anyway,
yeah,
my question is, do the moderators, do they have to shut up for the whole 2 minutes as well so they don't interrupt the candidates, or they can jump in whenever they want? I haven't heard anybody talk about that.
I expect that they'll be jumping in anytime that they want to, and I expect that they will interrupt Donald Trump a hell of a lot more than they interrupt Joe Biden. Now, is it 2 minutes? I've not heard a time frame on the time allotted for the answers to the question.
Yeah, it may be shorter. I don't know. I heard 2 minutes, I guess, maybe for opening and closing. I don't know. But, I was just wondering. I'm guessing they're going to jump in to save Joe when he needs it, and then they're going to jump in to shut Trump up when he needs it.
Well, look for it and expect it, Jeff. And I'm not Jeff, Chuck. Pardon me. Screening calls is hard, y'all. Don't give me that look. You had one job, but don't look at me like I'm doing something wrong.
I can only put down what I hear.
Don't look at me like I'm doing something wrong. That's between you and Doug or whatever his name is. No, but it has nothing to do with me. I don't need I feel your look. Don't give me the look. Y'all should see Headless Bell. His lack of head is glaring at me right now. I know I'm number one. Hey, I'll brandish my weapon. You give me that one finger and you'll get a weapon brandish, buddy. According to Jackson, by the way, on the look, is more being made of this than maybe we should? I don't think so. And here's why. The American people deserve to know what the mental state of their president of the United States is without the aid for performance-enhancing drugs, whether those performance-enhancing drugs are legal or illegal or whatever. Obviously, presidents of the United States of America drink coffee or drink caffeine or drink some sort of stimulation to get them going like most Americans do. It has been suggested, and the State of the Union has been provided as evidence, that Joe Biden is doing a little more than just sipping on some coffee or maybe drinking some Mountain Dew. I wouldn't suggest that I have any idea of what the cocktail will look like, but a cocktail is coming. And most reasonable people recognize that. And it also causes us a little bit of concern. If your president of the United States needs over 7 days, 16 advisors, and some form of drug cocktail in order to stand on stage for 90 minutes, I don't care what their policy positions are. I don't care what their ideology is. I don't care what letter they have behind their name. And if you don't believe that this is having an impact on the American voter, look at how forcefully the Democrats and their minions in the mainstream media are clapping back at this concept. They're now coming back with, well, Donald Trump is 78, and Donald Trump is losing his mind, too. And listen at Donald Trump forget Ronnie Jackson's name and call him Ronnie Johnson. And listen to Donald Trump misstep on this front. Donald Trump stands before the American people on a regular basis, almost nightly, for 90 and in some cases 120 minutes, and speaks extemporaneously on the issues of the day. Donald Trump demonstrates on a daily basis that he is fit for duty. Whether you think he's mentally fit or not is up to you, but physically he demonstrates that he is fit for duty. Joe Biden, not so much. Right now as we speak, Joe is shaking hands amongst the assembled folks, looking relatively confused. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, he just yawned. See, they can't give him anything right now. See, you got to know how to do this. You got to know how to build him up and ramp him up for the big moment. Joe just yawned in front of this woman that he's shaking hands with, and he won't let go of her hand. Now he's finally let go of her hand. Now he's talking to this other guy about, what do you think he's saying? So anyway, I was there at the swimming hole, and Corn Pop was there with his metal rod and his chainsaw, and I said, "Get out of here, Corn Pop!" And he left, and I was celebrated as a hero.
Actually, he's talking to that guy, and it looks like he said, "What are you doing here, Bo?"
Hey, Bo. Thought you were in Iraq. There he goes. He's going down the line now, talking to the folks.
Stacey Abrams.
Was that Stacey?
No, that's her. Yeah, that's her just before the lady in white.
Yeah, I got her. Yeah. There they are. Atlanta dignitaries all as excited as can be about Joe Biden. As vibrant a president as you've ever seen. I mean, may as well be Teddy Roosevelt himself. Teddy Roosevelt incarnate. There, standing in Atlanta, Georgia, in anticipation of the debate tonight. Now Joe is bending over, speaking to some mystery woman who's... Anyway, there you go. Dorothy is next. And actually, Dorothy, hold on. I've got to do this real quick. It's 2:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, taking your concerns, your calls regarding the debate tonight. Final thoughts before we hand off to Brian Wilson this hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So it's as simple as this, folks. I didn't realize that I had sleep apnea, and I thought I was getting an okay night's sleep, but I oftentimes would run out of energy. We've been talking about energy quite a bit on the radio show with regard to Joe Biden. So I spoke to Dr. Stephen Poss, who I consider not only a fine physician, but also a friend. And I said, is it possible? And he said, have you had a sleep test, Murphy? You need to do this. I did it, and yes, I have mild sleep apnea, actually kind of moderate sleep apnea. And Dr. Poss has now fitted me with a mouth appliance that I wear on a nightly basis, and I get better night's sleep. I feel better during the day. I have a noticeable difference. Sometimes when I go out of town, I don't wear it. And there's a noticeable difference. Despite the fact that I don't snore, I have sleep apnea. Now, 25% of adults who have sleep apnea are unaware of it. Are you one of them? If you're not feeling as energetic as you feel like you should during the day, it is an option for you to have a sleep test done and then go to Dr. Poss and let him fit you with an appliance that is easy to wear. It doesn't cause obstructed sleep like some of these CPAP machines might. I'm telling you, Dr. Poss has advanced training and teaches others on a national level about treating sleep apnea. He is the go-to guy. 2 offices, one in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. Give him a call today, or better yet, go online at drposs.com, drposs.com, drposs.com. Dr. Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center.
Attorney General Merrick Garland speaks out about last weekend's clashes outside a Los Angeles synagogue and a new hospital coming to a growing Middle Tennessee city. We'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The dentist newscast is on the way in about 5 minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 2:30. Get it? It's still funny to me. I don't care what you guys say. 615-737-99. I'm tired. I didn't get a good sleep last night. I don't know why. Preoccupied or something. Maybe it's the dogs all on me. You know, I was told that dogs aren't allowed in the bed. Are you okay in there? You all right? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm getting connected to
Hot Springs?
and about to the speaker out.
All that going on? Yeah. So they're getting all up and running out there, Hot Springs. Very exciting. Very exciting. 3618, hey, Matt, my wife just said, because I listen to y'all every day and we text sometimes back and forth, that we're not really friends. Is this true? Okay, so I need you, 3618, to tell me what your name is and tell me what your wife's name is. And once you do those things, I'll answer your question about whether or not we're friends. Is that fair? Speaking of friends, here's Dorothy. She's a friend of mine, calling from Alabama. Hey, Dorothy.
Hi. I heard a news blip, like one of those little briefs, like in between a show, maybe local here. I'm pretty sure it was Fox News, but the lady said that the president will be getting injections. That was the last thing she said before, they went on to local commercials when they were doing the news brief. Now, it didn't say what, but I just wonder if maybe you could, check that with Fox News and, see more about that. Now, there's one thing I know the president should be getting if he's not, is vino.
Vino, you say, as in wine?
Yeah, for gas. Vino, those little drops. Vino.
Am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying V-I-N-O?
No, V like boy. Vino. It's drops. Yeah, it's for gas.
That's pretty funny.
Because he does that a lot.
I would be, Dorothy, I would be surprised. I'll check into this report. I'll be surprised, and thank you for the call, if there's any reporting regarding Joe Biden having injections. His campaign, they deny any and all they rebuff any and all questions about whatever performance enhancements he might be taking, whether that's caffeine or something else. So while there's a tremendous amount of speculation, it's all just speculation. Joe Biden's going to do what is necessary to keep himself on stage for 90 minutes. Now, I'm not diminishing the serious nature of this. I'm on record as telling you that if you have a president that needs over 7 days and 16 advisors to get ready for 90 minutes in time, discussing political policy that he should be as familiar with as some dunderhead talk radio host in Nashville, Tennessee, then you've got a problem president. But let's also not pretend that this is the first time that we've had a president under the United States of America under the influence of drugs. John F. Kennedy regularly took drugs to combat his very severe back pain. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm not suggesting that that's okay. I'm not suggesting that that's wrong. I'm just telling you the truth. And I would imagine that over the years there have been other examples of presidents of the United States of America that have been under the influence of something or another. I mean, hell, caffeine's a stimulant. Mike is in South Pittsburgh. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Matt?
Great, Mike. I hope you are.
I certainly appreciate your show, buddy.
Thank you.
Listen to you every day.
I'm glad you do.
I could not imagine the chaos in Atlanta, because I'm 1.5 million miler, retired from Delta, traveling for a living, and I'm sure it's a nightmare. But I hope that Trump just chills out and attacks him on the facts, and don't try to degrade him. Just put it out there plain what the facts are. And I don't care if either one of them are snorting the best coke in the world. It's not going to it's not going to cover the disaster that this country is in the last 3.5 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to attack this, to crack this nut, right? I mean, I think Donald Trump has learned, and we've not seen nearly as much. I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, and thanks, Mike, for the call. Donald Trump is not nearly invested as he has been in the past in name calling or labeling people, although that's worked well for him in the past. Little Marco and Crooked Hillary and all of these types of things. I wouldn't suggest that Donald Trump will go after Joe Biden on a personal level. Maybe he gets an opportunity from time to time, but I would say that Donald Trump is better on the issues. We've got a clear comparison that we have the ability to make between the Trump years and the Biden years, and you can expect a heavy dose of that tonight. It is 2:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, good afternoon. It's 2:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Scattered clouds, 85 degrees on Music Row. A weather forecast is coming right up. Attorney General Merrick Garland was asked today about clashes that broke out outside a synagogue in Los Angeles last weekend. The Attorney General says the Justice Department and the FBI, they've been collecting evidence in the matter, saying the DOJ is taking efforts to combat anti-Semitic hate.
The Justice Department will not tolerate criminal acts motivated by anti-Semitic hate. We will find those people who are perpetrators, and we will hold them accountable.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, TriStar Health has been approved to bring a full-service hospital to the growing city of Spring Hill, Tennessee. The $250 million facility is expected to bring more than 3,000 jobs to the communities in Williamson and Maury counties. It's set to be built on the same site as the existing TriStar Spring Hill ER that's located on Reserve Boulevard. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Do you have pests at your home? Do you have pests in your walls? Do you have bugs and creepy crawlies inside of the walls? Do you have something going on in your yard? Maybe you have pets that don't want to go into the yard because of the pest. Whatever your circumstance, might I recommend to you U.S. Pest and U.S. Pest Protection. You can call today for a free inspection. They'll come out to your home. They're never going to pressure you to do anything you don't want to do, but they will inform you about what's happening in your home, on your property, inside of your home, in your crawl space. It could be something as simple as termite inspection. It could be fleas and ticks because you want to protect the yard. Maybe it's roaches or maybe it's mosquitoes. Whatever the bugs might be, U.S. Pest has a solution for them, for you, to keep the home safe, to keep the yard and property safe, to keep you and your family healthy and sound. So I encourage you to call U.S. Pest today. Start online at uspest.com. J.K., Erica, and the rest of the team are fine folks, and they can help you with a free pest inspection right now. The number, 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest. Tell them Matt Murphy told you to call. All right, friends, so the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been around for over 30 years. You're aware of them. You've heard Matt Muprhy talking about them on the radio. Have you not made the call that so many others have made? Perhaps something is stopping you. Maybe you feel like, oh, this thing will go away on its own. Or perhaps I'll feel better tomorrow. Or it's no big deal, Murph. I'm just popping a couple of over-the-counter pain relievers on a daily basis. Well, it does matter, and your pain does matter, and we do want you to feel better naturally at the Dr. Gill Center, and so I encourage you to make the call. Maybe you've put it off until now. Time to pick up that telephone. Make the call and schedule the appointment. A short drive to Franklin, Tennessee, and then relief is on the way. With Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of the gang at the Dr. Gill Center, they're going to be there to assist you in relieving the pain. You don't have to take the pills anymore. You don't have to consider needles or surgery. Let's get pain relief the natural way through spinal decompression. No matter where it hurts, back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, all pain can be treated naturally with no needles and no downtime. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Call today, 615-882-4838, 882-4838. Tell them I sent you. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill and the Dr. Gill Center. So I'm hearing that CNN has instituted a 2-minute delay. Why do you think that's the case? It is 2:38 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. 2:38. Good afternoon. Almost 2:39 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. So a 2-minute delay.
That is an eternity in broadcast. An eternity.
So just to give you guys a sense of what we're talking about. So on News Talk Radio, for all of my career, we have been on a delay. We do so because we take live telephone callers. And every so often, not as often as you would think. As a matter of fact, I curse a lot more than the callers do. Bell's probably had to dump me as much as he's had to dump telephone callers during our time together. But what are we on, a 10-second?
7.5.
So the idea is if someone says something on the radio, and really it almost boils down to like 3 or 4 words, right? If you say a certain word or say certain things on the radio, we will immediately terminate the call. We will immediately hit what is called the dump button in our business, and that will eliminate the last 8 seconds of broadcast. We delay it, and then you catch up, so you cut out that 8 seconds. The idea being that whatever was just said will not be heard by the masses on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. And then we don't take a telephone call. And then slowly but surely, I don't know how long it takes. It takes several minutes for that delay to slowly build back up to the point that we can take calls again. That's like a 7.5 or 8 second delay. That's all we need.
Which is close to standard. That's around the average time that any TV station or radio station will use.
I worked for one radio station for a period of time that for some reason demanded a 30-second delay. And we
still an eternity.
Hated it. We hated it because the callers would get so confused. I mean, literally what they would listen to on air and what they would listen to, they'd be listening in their car, listening on air, and then you would go to them, and sometimes they wouldn't realize that anyway, it was an eternity. It was
that's actually one of the reasons I tell people to turn their radios down and listen on the phone.
Yeah, so you don't get confused. Right. Why would the Biden people, why would CNN institute a 2-minute delay? That's what we're hearing. There's going to be no live reporters in the room. Jake Tapper will be in there. Dana Bash will be in there. Let me tell you, the Donald Trump team needs to be rolling audio and video on their own inside of that debate studio. Because we need to know what's going on here. That seems not just a little excessive, that seems extremely excessive. Why would they do that? They're not doing it for Joe's benefit. Or they're not doing it to catch Joe doing something. They're doing it because, I mean, think about this for a moment. Is CNN going to censor when Donald Trump says something that they don't like? Has CNN been open and clear with the American public about the 2-minute delay? Is this right? That's what I hear. That's what I'm told. It's no good. Congressman Andy Ogles stepped to the podium before the House of Representatives this morning. He had a few things to say about the debate tonight. Listen up.
Tonight, the American people will tune in to watch a rigged debate with leftist hosts pretending to moderate. Biden's sham of a judicial witch hunt is as obvious to the American people as the amount of stimulants that Biden takes before his public appearances. Incoherent mutterings, lack of physical awareness, and wandering off demonstrate his cognitive decline. Ahead of tonight's debate, have no doubt his puppet masters will once again be administering a concoction of drugs to keep him awake. President Trump volunteered to take a drug test. The White House handlers, however, won't let Biden take a cognitive test because they know he'll fail. I agree with President Trump. The American people deserve transparency, which is why I introduced the No Juicing Joe Act, which would require the White House to notify Congress and the American people when Biden takes anything for cognitive decline. America is the leader of the free world. We need a commander-in-chief who is capable of articulating a coherent sentence, aware of his surroundings, and can lead with strength. A president like Donald Trump. I yield back.
There's Congressman Andy Ogles' No Juicing Joe Act, demanding that the White House release whatever drugs Joe Biden might be taking. I'm trying to figure out, I'm stuck on this 2 minutes. Our own Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News has suggested that it's because they're worried, they're legitimately worried about Joe Biden falling out. And that might be true. In case Joe Biden collapses on stage, they want to be able to go to a commercial or something. There is no excuse for a 2-minute delay for what is supposedly a live debate. And I want to know what the excuse they're making. I've not seen anything. I'm just learning about this moments ago. Marty might have some additional information in Portland. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Matt. Love the show.
Thank you.
You hear me okay?
And I pick you up loud and clear, Marty.
All right. I think that the delay is for factual reasons if Trump starts bashing on Biden for the facts.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but if they start cutting out Donald Trump with this delay, people are going to notice.
Right. Biden's got no facts at all to stand up there and dispute. Everything he says is lies.
Well, and some are now calling it, well, thank you, Marty, for the call. Some Brian Stelter, a.k.a. The Potato, has spoken out on this an hour ago, saying, watch out, it's wild out here today. Lots of people falling for misinformation about the presidential debate production. To address one of the BS claims, no, CNN is not putting the live feed on a 1/2 minute tape delay to somehow protect the elderly candidates. Well, you notice how that could be true and not true at the same time? Listen to what he says. To address one of the BS claims, no, CNN is not putting the live feed on a 1/2 minute tape delay to somehow protect the elderly candidates.
We're doing it for completely different reasons.
Or we're not doing it for a 1/2 minute, we're doing it for 2 full minutes. Look, I believe anything and everything until proven otherwise, especially when it comes to #NeverCNN and what they're willing to do. I stand by my previous statement, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on tonight at our gathering at Hot Springs. I fully believe that Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, having heard the criticism, are going to try as best they can, as leftist as they are, to come out of the gate and appear as nonpartisan. So probably the best questions that you're going to get are in the first 30 minutes of the debate or thereabouts, until they feel like they have to come to the aid of old Uncle Joe. At that time, they'll begin deflecting, and they expect that the moderators will interrupt Joe Biden. or rather interrupt Donald Trump when he goes after Joe Biden. 6585 says, my blood pressure can't handle the debate. I'm not watching. You got to watch. You know you'll do it. 6585, you couldn't stay away from this if you tried. You're going to watch, and I would expect that come around 2 or 3 o'clock, or rather come around 3 or 4 o'clock, you're going to decide to jump in the car and go on out to Hot Springs and join us out there. That's what I think is going to happen. Speaking of Hot Springs, we'll head out there to check in on Brian Wilson coming up in just a moment or two, see what's hopping out there already. Hot Springs is the location in Murfreesboro. Do you still have the address pulled up? Because a couple of people who say that they're not internet active are trying to find the address online. Or if you're not online, we've got the address for you. You can find it easily online by going to Hot Springs website.
6790 John Bragg Highway.
Say it again.
6790 John Bragg Highway.
In Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's the site of our debate watch party. A lot of shenanigans going on leading up to the debate tonight at 8 o'clock. And then the debate starts promptly at 8, although it might be 8:02, considering the 2-minute delay that we're now hearing about. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm getting some mixed reports now as to whether or not that is Bravo Sierra or not. I believe it until proven otherwise, because I don't put anything past CNN. Any measure that they can utilize to protect Joe Biden, I believe that they will engage in. But one way or the other, we want to see you. I've promised the first 5 people that ask, I'll buy you a beer. As long as you're of age, obviously, and have the appropriate identification. Otherwise, we'll see you out there. We'll check in with Brian Wilson out there at Hot Springs coming up in just a moment. It is 2:49 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Muprhy and the Matt Muprhy Show winding down, getting ready for Brian Wilson, who is on location at Hop Springs. More on that in just a moment. I just want to clarify, because I try to be as open and honest as I possibly can, and we try to bring you news that we can corroborate. So I've got no corroboration outside of reports by certain individuals online that I have some semblance of trust in, that there is a 2-minute delay that was either considered or being initiated by CNN. I can find no corroboration from a source close to the event except for chatter online. A couple of those sources that are chattering online are sources that I trust. And so I related that information to you. Now, what does it matter? Well, it's possible that CNN could be airing the broadcast somewhat live with just a standard 8-second delay. So they're airing it essentially live outside of their ability to cut something like a curse word or some sort of protest or some nonsense. And they are delaying it for broadcast at any other platform by 2 minutes to give themselves a level of competitive advantage. In other words, CNN got the debate. CNN agreed to allow other networks to broadcast the debate, but it is possible that they're perhaps delaying that broadcast to the other networks for the purpose of having the competitive advantage. That would make sense. It makes zero sense that they would delay the broadcast just to delay the broadcast, except one would presume to protect Joe Biden under some circumstances. So during the break there, during our commercial advertisement break, I endeavored to try to find some corroboration to the notion that CNN is doing this. All I have found are individuals within the CNN circle denying that this is the case, and a healthy amount of chatter. And once again, this echo chamber can kind of feed upon itself. If Matt Muprhy throws out on social media that this is happening, and then Jay Harper picks up on it, and then Bell K picks up on Jay Harper picking up on it, and then Chris Webber picks up on it, and Brian Wilson. So suddenly there's 28 people saying it, but it's all coming from one source. And if that source is compromised or faulty, then we're all compromised in some way. So I'm not here to tell you that's what they're doing. It would frankly surprise me if that's what they're doing. But I am here to tell you that it wouldn't put it past them for their own purposes and reasoning. Now, Brian Wilson communicated with me just moments ago, and I don't think we're going to get the cross going. I think they're working on getting their broadcast up and running at Hop Springs. But Wilson indicated that, maybe it's because CNN wants a 2-minute lead on every other network. That might be the case, and that would be understandable. It would not be understandable under any circumstances to delay what is supposed to be a live broadcast for 2 minutes. 10 seconds, I get. That's fine. That makes sense. 2 minutes makes zero sense. So let's hope that's not the case. We will be at Hop Springs all afternoon long, starting in mere seconds. We invite you to be a part of that broadcast. Yes, I understand, Tim, that Fox is advertising that they're simulcasting with CNN because they are, but that doesn't mean that CNN is offering them the simulcast at the exact same time. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Understand the point that I'm trying to make, is that CNN could offer it to them with the caveat that they have to delay it. That's still a simulcast of the broadcast.
It's kind of interesting, Matt. Donald Trump Jr. just tweeted out about this very issue. Well, so why would they delay it 2 minutes unless they were planning a manipulation of tonight's debate?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We got a few hours to try to figure out if this is real or not real, but is Donald Trump Jr. a part of that same echo chamber, or is there something more to this? We'll see. Hop Springs is the location. Come on out and see us. Hail, hail. The gang will be there. Brian Wilson cranks out the proceedings, or cranks off the proceedings, or something along those lines. I need to take a nap. I'll see you tonight. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brian coming up next.